Hello, welcome to another tonal landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy. And the painting I'm bringing you today is called Riffing on William Keith. It's a 4x6, and I painted this bad boy yesterday. I think you're going to enjoy it. It's pretty fun. And now, William Keith, I don't know much about him. He was a tonalist. I believe he was a California tonalist. If you check out some of his work online, it's like some of the darkest, most tonalist stuff you'd ever see. I definitely see and feel the influence of George Jonas in his work, and I really like his stuff. I took a lot of liberties with this one. For one, I mean, basically, all I've taken is well, not his dark colors, but I've taken an approximation of his colors and his basic composition. I've added a path and changed the sky around, and I'll be doing quite a bit of this kind of thing because there's a lot of inspiring compositions out there, and I have ideas about ways I'd like to modify them and do my own thing. And it's been an ongoing process. I started, obviously, if you look at the old days of the channel, I started with the 100 Days of Tonalism. Those were all faithful studies after the Masters, and then I did, I think, 3 sets of 25 Days of Tonalism, or I think at some point I changed it to Past Masters series, but all faithful. So I've done a lot of study and application. This is a bit different. It's more like a cover song, I would say, than a straight up, interpretation of another artist's work. And hope you enjoy it. So one of the things I really liked about this was I like the blue-orange thing, and I'm better at it than I used to be. The blue-orange type of sky is really one of the more difficult sort of sky colorations to do because of its complementary color nature. What I did here was you can see I'm doing it now. I brought in a bit of a darker blue and really worked at muting that blue. Now I'm using Prussian blue. I don't think if you're trying to do tonalism with ultramarine blue, good luck. I don't think that's going to work too well. They would have been using Prussian blue, you know. And phthalo blue is kind of like Prussian blue. It's very similar. It's just as, half a half of one, dozen of the other. That's how I see that. What I was at this point though, I was thinking, oh, okay, and you saw me bring in like some sort of pinks and oranges into that blue to kind of reconcile the orange that was coming. And down below, now in his, it was a very green, a very teal. I don't really like that sort of effect in the sky, and that's super easy to get though. I mean, you just paint a little bit of a lighter blue and then glaze it with yellow, and you'll have that kind of effect. And it looks good. I don't want to do it. I don't particularly care for that feeling in my work, because when I look at that I just think of glaze. And really that's how you would get that. Yeah, the little orange bits. Now this is a very small painting. It's not the tiniest I've ever painted, but it's in that very small range, so you're limited as far as what you can do getting into little dinky clouds. And the brush I'm using there is a 2. For a sky especially, that's fairly small brush obviously, but it's not a 0 or a 1. And now in the landscape I will be getting into those sorts of brushes. Now when you look at the earlier days of the channel, I would have been trying to paint all this with a 4 or something. And the reason for that was because I had a problem with overworking and over too many brush strokes. And so my solution for many years was just to use a really big brush for the job and use the corner of the brush. I still do favor the corners of the brush a lot more than say the flat part. But well, to be honest, I use every part of the brush now. The brush is a very versatile and flexible sort of tool. I'm not really a knife painter. And knife painting doesn't really lend itself to working on panels. Now this panel is made out of MDF. I have quite a lot of inventory of that MDF, and I'm going to be working my way through it. Small paintings, I do fairly good trade out here with the small paintings. I sold them for a bit less. That's probably why. But this painting took about 2 hours to complete, which is, about average for something like this. Um, I would have maybe liked it to go a bit quicker, but every painting takes the amount of time that it takes. And I will and do not hesitate to dedicate the appropriate amount of time necessary to make something beautiful. And that's always my intention. And hopefully that's, if you're a painter, that's what you're going for too. Creating something that's beautiful takes a bit of effort, and it takes actually a bit of introspection, I would say. You need to have a sense of what beauty is and how you can create it in your work. That's not the most difficult thing to do in the world, but it does require some effort. Hey, we're into the book. Shipped some books this week. I really appreciate the orders and the support, and I will keep shipping them to you anywhere on the planet. $60 U.S. international shipping is included with that, and it's a great resource, I think, if you want to paint in a tonalist manner. And speaking of, I was I kept gapping on the name of this guy. He's not as well known as many other tonalists, although he certainly is like to the core. William Keith is a tonalist, and this painting resembles his to some degree. Actually, it deviates a lot, so much so that I could have probably just, you know, said it was something I came up with, and I don't think anyone would have ever realized that the inspiration was William Keith. But I do think it's important when you are being inspired by another artist's work, even if you're making huge radical deviations from that work, that you should give attribution, and that's becoming increasingly important in this age of the the AI image generation. And some of those AI generated images can function quite well as reference for your landscape paintings, which could maybe lead into another issue of why make any art at all, since this AI can do some pretty cool stuff. But my answer to that is that the thing we're going to have to start focusing on as human artists is expressing ourselves and the unique character of our own individual consciousness, and that's going to be rewarding, and the pursuit thereof is going to be very rewarding, because things that come easy, who cares? You know, you don't care about them. Nobody ever cared much about anything that just dropped into their lap. You might be glad for a minute or two, but you certainly aren't going to have the kind of feeling that you have after working really hard at attaining some level of mastery. We'll just talk about painting since it's a painting channel, but this would apply to any field. You know, I have a good friend who's a carver, and he paints at a masterful level to the point where his work is, you know, probably and going to end up in museums in the future. They will think that it was actual Aboriginal carvings and things. But he's dedicated 30 something, 40 something years to his craft, and I've dedicated a similar amount of time to making art, and a good solid 15 years of that now to making landscape paintings. And landscape paintings, well, on one hand, it's cool because you can do a painting in a relatively short amount of time. On the other hand, there's so many ways to go off the rails and to go wrong that it's really good that it doesn't. That you could do a painting in a relatively short amount of time, because you're going to need to do quite a few paintings to work your way through all of the different ways that you can go off the rails. And you won't even have the ability to perceive a lot of those ways unless you do enough paintings to be looking back at your older stuff and going, ooh, wow, that doesn't work. And I've talked about that a lot on the channel. You know, a lot of the way I work is intuitive. I'm an intuitive type of person. And that intuition has been honed to a very keen edge in regards to painting. So as I'm painting, I will get certain prompts like try this, try that, use this color, use this brush, etc., so on and so forth. But all of that is fed by experience. You can't have strong intuitions about things that you don't know anything about. Well, you can, but you're really not going to be able to create art. And it's a very interesting process. Now, I've been doing it a while, and I had a strong care about creating beautiful paintings, and I still do, and I always will. So, getting back to, say, the AI thing, a lot of AI images are created with text prompts. I don't particularly care for that. It's too random. And although I do certainly use the old text, the occasional text. Let's say we're talking about working in Adobe Photoshop, setting up a reference image. Because I have a lot of experience of painting, I would maybe look at a photo and say, "Ooh, I don't want that there." Now I could take the photo and make a painting and just leave it out, or add things, and I do a lot of that. In fact, every painting I do really doesn't resemble my actual photographic reference too much. It's a little different when we're doing a riff like this, where we are basically working off a work of art, and most of my photos that I use as reference, it would be debatable whether you could consider that any of them to be art. They're really one stage in the process, the creative process, and a really important stage. But most of that stuff gets filtered out. Even in a situation like this, I don't slavishly copy anything. Everything that's going into my painting is going to be tied to that painting itself. And every stroke that you lay down is related to every other stroke. And it's important to know when to stop. Now, this painting took a couple hours. It could have easily gone much longer, or I could let it dry and then go in with a smaller brush and add little tiny highlights here and there. My feeling is that that fresh, immediate, initial human interaction with the brush loaded with color on the board, lay it down, try and get it to look pretty good. I really like to work wet into wet. Well, I used to really love working dry over wet as well, but the reason why I stopped, the reason why I gave it up, even though I did enjoy working that way, was because I would always lose a lot of good energy, a lot of that impetus of I'm the human, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to make this beautiful and make it look like what it is I'm trying to paint, and for it to have the feeling that I want to get across. All of these things are happening at the same time. And were I to sit down and do this painting again today, it would come out quite a bit different. I know it would. Now, before at the end of the video, sorry, members area, you can not only see William Keith's original reference, but you can see my highly modified and changed reference, and I think that's pretty valuable. Like I said, I'll be doing quite a few of these sorts of things, and I plan on doing that in every case, putting the original image, the modified image, and then of course you get the whole live painting session with the struggle in the studio. And when I say struggle, I mean in the positive sense of the word. It's not like we're starving and we're looking for something to eat. We're sitting there and trying to make something beautiful and cool. Anyway, that's it for this middle of the week video. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm hoping you're having a great week and getting a lot done. Until I come back with another video for your edification and enjoyment, do me a favor, do me a solid. Take good care of yourself, your family, all your loved ones. Stay out of trouble, and God bless you and your family. Fight the power.